Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Board Game Mechanics. Tonight you may be hearing extra noises such as kids jumping on beds, kids yelling at each other and shrieking, and then subsequently Jason and I losing our minds and yelling at our children. All that is extra bonus footage tonight for you guys on the podcast. I'm Katie, and with me, as always, is...
Hey guys, what's going on? It is Jason. And by you might hear that noise, you most definitely probably will hear that noise.
Our kids always insist they're not tired when it's bedtime. And then they act like wild hooligans for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a crash of rhinos above my head. That's what it sounds like. It's crazy.
And I have the windows open down here, so we have a neighbor who likes to drive by on his motorcycle real loud, so that could happen. I mean, this is real life.
Yeah. Jamming some country music real loud. Yep.
Sometimes he has some classic rock.
I guess I've only heard the country so far.
He's got some standards to keep or whatever.
Yeah, I guess. I try to block it out because it fills me with a rage. So I try to keep that turned down a little bit.
Yeah, I wish I could ignore it, but I can't. All right, so to keep from talking about our crazy kids or being enraged by our neighbor, let's talk about some news. The first item of news is something that I am so pumped about.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about this.
You be quiet. Don't mock me. It came out of nowhere. Or else I'm not paying attention, and I just happen to see it. There is a new consulting detective. That's right. One of my absolute favorite games, Consulting Detective. And as I mentioned on my unboxing, you can be like, oh, it's an experience, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. It's a game to me. Get over yourself.
I mean, it is a game. You're still reading and deducing some things. So, I mean, if this isn't a game, Clue isn't a game, or any other deduction game isn't a game. So, yeah, I think it's a game.
Thank you. So this latest implementation of Consulting Detective is called the Baker Street Irregulars, which if you know anything about Sherlock Holmes, you'll know the Baker Street Irregulars are his kind of gang and network of street urchins that, feed him info and help him find some stuff out through the underground.
That's a sweet gang name.
It is. It's totally cool. I think that should be our band name.
The Baker Street Irregulars. That is pretty sweet. I like it.
I know, right?
It's probably taken.
Baker Street Irregulars. It probably is, but it's really cool.
Some stupid British band, I'm sure, is doing it.
Well, to be fair, they might have a little more claim to it than us.
Yeah, that's true.
But in the Baker Street Irregulars, it's supposed to be like a little more of an introductory type cases, which I'm not thrilled about because I've done some serious casework with Consulting Detective, and I love that. But they've introduced like some new mechanisms with like tracking, like your play throughout the cases. So I'm really interested to see what that's like. And, let's face it, it's a Consulting Detective game. Of course I want it badly. However, I usually don't buy it straight off the bat. It looks like, it's going to be about $40, brand new. And I don't know if Jason will let me buy it at $40, but I'm willing to wait until a few people play it and I can get it secondhand. I don't mind.
Yeah, I can get you a good secondhand copy for like $20. I like that price point. It's nice.
I know, but I do love Consulting Detective, and I'm excited for some new cases. And so if you are new to Consulting Detective and you hear me ramble on and on about it and want to try it, this looks like this would be a good place to get started, especially because the initial set of cases, which are somewhat easier, are in the bad translated version. So there's some typos and things that I think aren't done as well as what Space Cowboy has been doing with the newer versions. So if you've ever wanted to give Consulting Detective a try, I think the Baker Street Irregulars would be a good place to start. And then once you do it, you'll be hooked. So that's my first piece of news.
Yeah, I know you're super excited about it. I don't really care, but it's definitely something we'll probably have to pick up so you can play it.
Of course. So then my next thing is off Kickstarter. And I thought I was drawn in by the artwork on this game. And it's called Eila and Something Shiny. And this is a really cute little kind of choose your path adventure game. But it says it's replayable. And it's for 1 to 3 players. So I could see this being a really great little solo game. You're this adorable little rabbit named Eila. And, you've got these little things that you have to do each day. It's, I mean, the artwork is like the most freaking adorable thing I've ever seen. I mean,
Is this a kids game or no?
no, it's not.
Oh, it looks like a kids game from all the pictures that I've seen on it.
It does, because you get like these little comic booklets that give you like the introduction to what's going on in each chapter. But there's like this little game board, and so you've got these cards, and you play like present cards. So these are things that are happening now, and you make choices. And based on the choices you make, you're getting some resources, you have some energy, you're gaining some knowledge, because you play so many rounds. It's 7 rounds, I believe. So it's like, and there's a day and a night phase. So at the end of each day, and you go into night, there's some things you can do at night, but you also need to be able to expend an energy, because you work the whole day. So you have to have that, otherwise you lose health. So you play until you've solved your goal, because there's different goals and goal cards for each chapter, or you solve a goal, you go through 7 days and nights, or you lose your health, which happens if you don't have enough energy, or some of the other things that happen. There are 220 plus like event cards, so like little events happen, and it's interesting because like you'll get these cards and it might tell you like, oh, if you choose this, draw a certain card from the story deck and put it in the future, and so it's something that's going to happen later. Or you put it on this little stand, which is what's coming up next, and it'll be like the next choice you have to be. And there's map cards, and oh my goodness, you can even buy a little plushie of Eila. And from her friends too. Oh my gosh, these are adorable. I didn't see all these add-ons. It's just a really cute, it's like taking something that, like there are bigger like story type games, but this is just like, this is one that appeals to me because it's cute and fun and lighthearted, but you're still like making decisions. You're still working towards goals. It has like this really neat setup. It's got like, looks like really nice components. I think it looks so interesting. So I'm digging on this. There's combats and riddles and movement and all kinds of things. And they kind of ease you into that with chapter 2. And like there's new rules before each chapter. Like I just think it looks great. So that's Eila and Something Shiny. That's 22 days left on Kickstarter. So plenty of time to check it out. And to just get the basic game is $54. But it's not like you're just getting a book. It's like
it's a board and
a
stuff.
book and a placemat and map cards and riddle cards and goal cards and item cards and event cards and chapter boxes and 100 plus tokens. And they are shaped tokens, people, carrots and stars and books and hearts and special dice and 16 comic booklets and a cute card stand. That's a ton of stuff for only about $53. So that is Eila and Something Shiny.
It almost sounds like a mixture of choose your own adventure books and the exit games and the unlock games all mixed together from what you were describing a little bit.
Okay, I think it's less exity unlocky than more maybe like near and far, above and below, because you're following the story and making decisions within the story, but some of those decisions and things that you have to do involve some puzzles. But I don't think there's a ton of those in there, but there are some. And like the art is neat. Like you read like a little book to introduce you to a new chapter, and then there's one that kind of closes it out as well. But cool. I think if you like those kind of games, it is something to take a look at. It's adorable and it looks super fun. Especially, I think, solo gaming. This would be like a good time and something I would totally play with. So check out Eila and Something Shiny.
That's cool. Yeah. Sounds pretty interesting. I wonder if the girls could like it, or is it too big for them?
It might be too big for them to play by themselves, but I think it might be fun if we played like together. Like I said, okay, they could read the cards, like, and then they could make the choices. Because there's nothing scary about it. I think it seems like, I don't know if it would be too hard, but I think it would be something they would totally want to get into because of how it looks and the tactileness of the pieces and stuff, that they would probably jump in. So I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Not that you'll buy it at $54, but it would be really fun.
You're right. It would be really fun.
All right, the next thing I found on Kickstarter is something also completely different. And I can't always pick the boring Euros out there. I got to find something different. So this next one is called The Messenger. an Immersive Mystery. And so it's like this narrative puzzle that you get a parcel. You get a parcel when you back this. And it's a big parcel that has contents. And a lot of it is a surprise, so they can't totally tell you. But there's different documents like journals and maps and ledgers, encrypted pages. There's an audio cassette. There are actually like narrative items on the Kickstarter. They have a picture of some dog tags. There's a USB drive. There's like a wooden notebook that's got like symbols and meanings, and it's crazy. So the idea is that you're solving a case, this mystery, which I think is, so it's like, it's made by like an adventure group book. So it's puzzly. It is like, this one is much more like an escape room type thing. It's like if an escape room and consulting detective had a baby. I think it would be the Messenger and Immersive Mystery. So it's kind of cool. It seems totally crazy. And so if you're looking for like a neat group experience or something totally different, I would check it out. There's only 5 days left on Kickstarter, and it's $65, but you get a whole lot of interesting stuff in there. So that's Messenger and Immersive Mystery.
Yeah, I think that's kind of neat, but I wonder how many people will be turned off by like a USB just randomly coming to them in the mail. I don't know.
Well,
it doesn't sound like a good idea.
It comes in the package, but also it says if you don't have to, like, there's file access. So the audio cassette or like content from the USB drive is not required to participate in the experience. You get like a link to the information that you can access online, so you don't have to use those physical things if you don't want to.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they thought about that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm sure they did, because somebody's probably like, hey, I don't want to put this rando USB in my computer. Like, yeah, that's cool.
Yep. And last, again, something different from the first two, but much more typical, is pizza, blah, 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 blah. Pizza Rush.
Pizza.
The card game. It's a pizza rush. So this is easy to learn game where you're building pizzas. And so, you know, you got to top your pizza cards. And actually what's interesting is you start with your pizza crust, and then you want to add toppings to it. What's interesting is your toppings then have to increase in number order. So like if ham is a 2, and then I put, extra cheese on top of that, which is an 8, I can't then later add mushrooms that are a 4.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. So you're stacking on the toppings, and you've got to get them, and you're trying to get rid of your toppings first. And then, it's like you play it over different rounds. So once you win a round, then you get like a chef card. And there are different levels of chefs. Like the first is the Nona. So she has the special power. Then the second is the pro, and you give your lowest card to the novice. The person who got last is the dishy. So they wash dishes, but they get good cards from the Nona. So to help you to kind of equalize stuff. So it seems like a really fun, quick little game, and who doesn't love pizza? So there's 8 days left on that Kickstarter, and it's only $19, which I think is a good price point because, again, it's cards.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I was getting ready to ask, does it have anything else other than cards? Like, does it have a playmat? Does it have anything? Is it just a box of cards?
It's just a box of cards as far as I can tell, but they're like 80 cards.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, and the art is cute. And it looks like it'd be a fun. It says ages 6 to 86.
86? Why 86? Like an 87-year-old can't play that game?
I don't know. Apparently. But it's 2 to 7 players, and it's like only 20 minutes to play. So it seems like it could be a fun, quick game. And I love pizza. I'm hungry, apparently. So I picked Pizza Rush. But
I'm going to look it up because I want to see what the art looks like.
It's cute. It's like cartoony. I feel like you can't see anybody's eyes. Everyone's eyes are closed, but they're all cute. Like the pro, his eyes are covered by his eyebrows, and the dishy, his eyes are covered by his hair. And then like the pizza toppings look like pizza toppings.
That is cute art. Yeah,
I know, it's cute.
The Nona's real cute.
I know, for $19, I feel like this is a good deal. So if you like card games, you're looking for like little fun stuff, check out Pizza Rush, the card game. 8 days left, only $19.
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually the one I'm interested in the most, I think, right there.
Because it's only $19.
No, because I think that card thing is cool, where you're basically climbing the ladder trying to get better cards, but you're trying to decide when you want to play the high cards to not block yourself in. I think that's kind of neat.
Yep. All right. And that is all I have for news this week.
All right, guys and gals. It is another section of Games Played where we both played all of these games.
Da, da, da.
That's like, I think that's 4 weeks in a row. I mean, we got to make that stop.
I know, I'm going to go play stuff without you. Ow, well, I did play stuff without you.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about it a different time.
Yeah, it was almost going to stop this week, but then we didn't have to have it stop. All right. So the first game that we're going to talk about is a game that I'd never ever heard of before. It's from a company called Evil Hat, which is a cool publishing name. And it's based on an RPG called Don't Rest Your Head. And the game that we played is called Don't Turn Your Back. And this is a deck building worker placement game, which sounds odd, and it's kind of odd. But essentially what you're doing is you're starting out with the same 8 or 7 cards. I'm not sure how many cards you have. I think you have 8 because you draw 4. Yeah. So you have 8 cards, you draw 4, and you're going to use those cards at different locations on the board. The trick here is not every card can be used at all locations. So you're trying to juggle which cards you want to put at certain locations. A location's going to let you get pain, which is like the currency, to buy cards, buy additional cards. You're going to send some cards to a high school where you're going to be in pain and score points. You're going to go to a district and fight with some laws. You're going to encase yourself in wax at some point. And then there's a bazaar where you can go and use the actual text on your cards. So you're trying to, it's like a balancing act of where you want to play these cards, when you want to use these cards to put them in wax, because once they're encased in wax, they're out of the game forever. Which cards you're going to buy from your own personal row of cards. Like everybody has 6 cards that they can buy from on their own, so no one can screw with your cards or anything, which is pretty neat. And yeah, it's a worker placement deck builder, which is interesting with really crazy art. So that's all I'm going to say, and I'll let Katie tell you what she thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, the theme is whatever. I'd love to see this reskinned because I think the mechanisms are really cool in it because you are deciding, okay, what is going to get me the most candles, which are points. So where can I use the cards that I have? How can I get more cards? And as usual, I love that you can play it and make different choices on how you want to play in order to win. Like, we all were really close together, and it was interesting because everyone else like really played up Wax Kingdom, which is where you're banking pain in order to get really great point benefits at the end. And so I just couldn't get anything in there. So I'm like, okay, well, last place in that area gets points based on how many cards are in their deck. So I need to try and buy points. And how can I get points in the meantime to make sure I don't fall too far behind? Okay, I'm going to go to the high school. And so I'm like looking for cards that help me out the high school. And, you know, just there are so many different ways to like score points. And you only have a certain number of spaces at each location. So like the decisions are really tense. And then what cards do I keep? What do I want to thin out of my deck because they're going to be gone forever? What cards do I want to play to use the text? What cards do I want to play to use the pain points? Like, there's a lot of really good stuff going on. I would just love it reskinned because the theme leaves a lot to be desired for me. But otherwise, it was like a really fun gameplay.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. The theme, again, I don't care about theme as much, but even I thought the theme was a little wacky on this one. So I can ignore it. It's whatever. Because you're just looking at the numbers of pain and the cost of cards and where they can go. But still, you have to look at all that dark, like twisted art that's on the card that's really weird for no reason at all. But yeah, it's a really cool game that I've never heard of. Super like obscure. And I think it's pretty creative too. I don't think I've played another game that kind of does that thing, which is interesting. Yeah.
Speaking of creatively themed games, the next game we played has a really interesting theme. And that's called Legacy, the Testament of Duke de Crecy. And if you watched the unboxing videos, did I unbox this? I think I did.
You did, yes. You did.
Okay. Can't even remember. It's already old hat to me. So in this game, you are developing like generations of a family. And you're trying to develop your family in such a way to meet these special goals, to, start making money for your family. Of course, you don't want to be completely impoverished. Have friends and gain honor through your different actions and your different family members' occupations. So it is worker placement and a really tight worker placement because you really don't get that many turns at all.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And you always want more turns and you always want to do more things. But you're arranging marriages and donating to community works and getting titles and doing all these things to build the best family. So I thought the theme was really fun, and I really liked the game. I'd love to play it again.
Yeah, this is a really cool game. It's from Portal, which is weird because it seems like Portal actually goes outside of the box sometimes with themes. Like Predaporter is about fashion. This is about building a family tree, which no one's doing that. But one of the things I really liked on this is how each player had their own 2 workers. But there were also these colored workers that could only be used at certain locations on the board. But your worker could be used anywhere. So, like, if I took one of my workers and I went to one of those colors on the main board, and you had the color pawn that goes there, you wouldn't be able to use your pawn during that turn. You had to hold it until another turn. But if you didn't use it by the end of the generation, because you're playing 3 generations, then you lose it. So, there were ways to get extra pawns, but sometimes you might get an extra pawn of an action that you don't really want. So, it's a little bit of a balancing act there, I guess. But yeah, this is a really good game. I like it. It takes up a ton of table space when you're building your family tree.
Yeah.
So make sure you have a big table for that, because it's going to be if you're playing 4 players, it's going to be 4 huge pyramids of cards. But it does look cool though.
We should have put the leaf in the table.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think with cards because they're those little mini cards. Like the little Ticket to Ride cards before they got the normal size cards. Mm-hmm. It's those size, but it still takes up a ton of room, which is crazy.
Yeah, and it's really great because the tension with, okay, I want to fulfill these things on my goals, but I want to try to get myself more chances to have more workers so I can take more turns because I get 2. It's good and frustrating, but frustrating in a good way. Yeah, I guess
that's a sign of a good Euro right there.
Yep.
All right, so the last game we're going to talk about is something that we got because Katie really likes deduction games.
I do.
And you may have seen this in a recent unboxing if you watch our YouTube channel at all. If not, that's fine, but Katie did an unboxing for this, and this game is called Awkward Guests. And I will let Katie talk about this because I liked it, but she's way more excited about it, so I'll let her tell you what she thinks.
I do really love deduction, and so I don't know how I stumbled across this. I was watching a video about something else and saw it. So an awkward guess, it's like the classic Clue. Like, there is someone who got murdered. You have the set of suspects. You have the house laid out. But instead of, going around and asking, oh, do you have this card? Do you have this card? You actually are you're making trades. It's a business transaction. So when it's your turn, you say, I want to know information about a certain suspect in a certain room, or 2 rooms or 2 suspects, any combination of 2. And then everyone goes around and looks at their cards. Your cards have then kind of almost importance value. Things that give you really great information are 3s all the way down to 1s and 2s. So you've got 1, 2, or 3 options. And so when someone asks for information about something, you can go through and say, okay, I'm willing to give you these cards of information. And then you say, okay, here's what their value is. So then if I'm the person asking for information, I can choose. Do I want what they have? And if I do, I have to give them some of my own information of the same value or greater. So information is getting exchanged all the time, which is really neat. But there is so much to figure out because the clues are telling you, okay, it wasn't this type of weapon, or it wasn't this type of motive, or these guests were here and here. And so you have the suspects who may possibly be lying to you. You've got the household staff that are actually telling you the truth, but they're only giving you certain kinds of information that's the truth. And so you have to piece them together. You're looking at what the coroner is telling you about the body and what was on it. Just lots of stuff happening because you have to determine the suspect and what they used to kill the victim and why they did it. And the thing is, there's so much replayability here. There's 250 some different cards of information, and there's all these different ways, different cases in the book, and they range from an initial case to very easy to medium to hard to very hard. And then in your harder cases, they up the difficulty by actually having you have an accomplice. So now you've got 2 people that are lying that you're trying to figure out what they're up to and what they're doing. and people are always interacting. Information's always moving. And at the end of each round, you decide, am I going to keep investigating or am I going to make a guess? And if you use the app, because there's a really nice app that comes with it, it's not going to tell you the solution, so you don't have to be out, which is cool. And then at the end of that round, you discard down to 3 cards and you get 3 new pieces of information. So information is always being moved, pulled in, shuffling around. It just gives you a lot of opportunity. And we just played like an easy case, and I still felt like I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I think I love this.
Yeah. I didn't have any information when we were playing this. I wasn't anywhere close. And then the person who solved it, our new hotness buddy, it was like 4th round in and he had the answer already. It was crazy. Like I'm not good at deduction, so don't take what I do as like this game is too hard. I'm just awful. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it even though I was terrible. So the hand management thing kept me engaged because I felt like I was playing a little game with, I'm trying to give you, maybe I'll give you some junky 1 clues to add up to 3 when you'll give me that bang up 3 clue, the 1 card, but I'll give you 3 that aren't as good for your number 3. So I thought that was kind of interesting and creative. So yeah, I like this game quite a bit. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, I also did really bad at it too, and I feel like I'm not bad at deduction, so I don't know. I just think I want to play it more often. And also it's cool that it has like a solo variant as well. You can play it solo or up to 8. And so in 8, you've got lots of information moving around, all kinds of things. So I think it'll be interesting, all player counts. But that was awkward guess.
And that was a big firework right there.
That was. Speaking of awkward.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our feature for this podcast, I felt like I kind of touched on this a little bit in my rant last week about gamers who annoy me. And some of you took it personally, some of you who game with me, and I told you not to.
Looking at you, Brandon.
Brandon's not the only one who took it personally. New hotness buddy. I know you took it personally. Don't. Because if it really made me mad, I wouldn't game with you.
Yeah, that's true.
I would find reasons to not game with you, but I don't. So, in part of my rant, one of the things that bugs me is when people teach a game really badly. And so I thought, maybe those people just don't know how to teach games. And Jason and I do a lot of game teaching to a whole variety of people. And in general, as my occupation, I do a lot of teaching. And so I thought maybe we could give some kind of tips that we use when teaching games. Now, yes, there are basic ways to teach games, like read the instructions and then do them, of course. But we just wanted to give some kind of ways that we think might help you out a little bit. So my first one is make the main thing the main thing. So what I mean by make the main thing refers back to my rant last week where I was like, why would you bring up these random off rules for no reason and throw those out there and explain one card that only occurs on a special occasion when the moon's full and one person has stood on their head? Okay, don't. So to keep the main thing, what I mean by that is that you are saying, here's what your goal is for the game: to score the most points, to get these 4 of these win conditions. So the main thing, you say, here's the goal of the game. And then you say, here's how you achieve that. Here's how you take a turn. Those are the main things that everyone needs to know in a game. So I need to know what I'm trying to do, what's my main objective, and then how do I go about doing it when it's my turn. There might be some specialty fiddly rules, things like that. We'll get to those. But right up front, you need to tell me the main thing and keep a focus on that and not wander off into these, once in a lifetime kind of scenarios, how to break a tie at the end. No, don't give me that. Keep the main thing. And then if we get to those other parts, you can explain them then. And I'm okay with that. But right up front, what's the objective? What's my goal? And what do I do on my turn?
Yep, I agree. I don't have much to say to that. I agree with you 100%.
Okay, thanks.
I try not to teach that way. I may go off on tangents occasionally, but I try not to. I usually just say, hey, if this comes up, I'll explain it when it comes up.
Well, and partially it's because when you start teaching me a game, I will say, what am I doing here? What is my goal? Okay, what do I do when it's my turn? if you start wandering off into Never Never Land.
I try not. I've been doing better and not doing
You
that.
have been. I totally agree.
Okay, so I'll start with what I have. So I was looking at your list, and your list is kind of what you're doing during the teach, or what you want people to do when they're teaching you. So like, say we're sitting at the table and we're getting ready to play a game. These are things that you want people to have or do to help teach the game, or that you would do to help teach the game. Mine are kind of what I do to prepare to teach the game to everybody else. So I just wanted to put that differentiation in there, because I'm not really going to be teaching the games with mine.
Well, I feel like that just speaks to how we interpret life in general, because I am, we're not going to prepare. We're just going to kind of wing it in the moment, and you are a prepare type person.
Yeah, kind of. It does fit our personality, but I just feel like like we were talking about this when we were walking around the neighborhood, I just feel like if I understand the game better, I can teach it better. If I don't have to look at the rule book every 37 seconds about something, like I kind of know what's going on, and I can just teach out of my head, that's better for me. So that's kind of what I'm doing with mine. So for my first one, the first thing that I usually do when I get a new game, or I'm getting ready to play an old game that I haven't played in a while, is I'll watch a video to help me understand how the game plays. So I usually even do that before I will look through the rule book. So usually when I get a game, I'll open it, I'll punch it, I'll put everything in bags, and then I'll watch a video of the game from Rado, or someone who actually does a playthrough. So not like a Dice Tower review, but like Rado, John Gets Games, I don't know, anybody else who has a full playthrough of it. And then after that, I feel more comfortable going into a rule book reading to be able to kind of, learn the game better. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to watch a video, see how the game works in full playthrough mode, to kind of wrap my head around the game and just learn how to play it a little bit better before I actually dive into deeper detail.
Yeah, I'm not going to do any of that. Like, if I watch a game and I haven't, seen it or read the book or anything, I don't understand the video. So that's why I don't do that. But I think also people that are different types of learners, that may work better for them.
I mean, I'll do both, but this is just the first step.
Yeah.
The first step in my process.
That's fine. You do you, boo. Okay, so the second thing that I like to do when I'm teaching a game is, I think it's, especially since I've taught people other things that aren't games, people like to learn in different ways. And so for me, I like to read stuff. I need that kind of an interaction. Other people like to physically do, see, touch, tangible. And so I think playing a practice round or an open hand is often very helpful for people, especially people that are those kind of learners, because then they get to see what cards look like, what pieces look like, what turns look like. They get to ask questions without feeling like they're stupid, because everybody here is just learning, and all knowledge is public knowledge at that point in the game. Because sometimes, you'll be talking and giving instructions, and you'll see people's eyes start to glaze over, because if they lose focus or something doesn't make sense to them, they'll kind of wander off and check out. And so I feel like if that happens, then a way to really help reinforce the rules and explain how to play the game is to actually give them an opportunity to try it a little bit. So that's what I like to do, is to do a practice round or a practice open hand.
Yeah, I mean, that does help for some people, because it is a lot just sitting at the table and hearing somebody say, okay, there's 19,000 spots on this board. Now I'm going to explain these 19,000 spots to you. Where, it's a lot easier to say, okay, here's what, I'll kind of tell you what's going on, and then for the first round, we can just kind of play together. Or, we'll do a test round, and then we'll just reset back up and go again. Yeah, that is a good way. I don't do it that way, but that is a good method for sure.
You don't, and sometimes it bothers me, especially games that I feel like appear complicated, and you explain the 25,000 different places on the board. I'm like, I cannot remember this. I won't remember this. I don't think I'm going to know what's going on. This is going to be terrible. And I run through that whole shame spiral in my head while looking annoyed.
Yeah, you do that. That's right.
I did that just the other day, just yesterday. I don't know if you noticed, because you were sitting next to me.
Yeah, for Tribune.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit. I just kept focusing on what I was doing.
I know you just plowed ahead and said, "Oh, yep. She'll figure it out. Whatever, I don't care.
She'll figure it out." Yep, that's what I said. All right, so to kind of go along with what Katie said about playing a practice round or an open hand, this is one of the next things that I do in my method. So what I do is after I watch a video and after I do the last thing I'm going to talk about, so I probably should have put that up here. But what I do is I play a two-handed solo game of the game to actually learn how the gameplay works. So what that means is I play a full two-player game. Well, maybe not always a full, but I'll play 2-3 rounds of a game playing both players. So not a solo game, but I'll just simulate like Rado and Jen. So I'll be me, and then there'll be rando person over here.
It's not even me. It's just rando.
I usually say she. I don't know who's sitting over there, but...
It's not me, apparently.
Like, in my head, I usually say she. So maybe it is you, and I just assume it's you because you're always sitting next to me. I don't know. So that helps me kind of see how the gameplay works, how the spots work, how the spots go together. If what I saw in the video and what I read in the rulebook makes sense. Because if I'm going to a spot and I don't know how it pans out, or if I'm doing an action and I don't know what happens next, maybe something wasn't clear or I misread something. So that's just kind of a way for me to kind of play test if I read the rules correctly or if I understand how the game plays before I can actually go tell people how the game works. So that's one of the things I do, play two-handed solo game to get the gist of the game, to be better prepared to teach the game.
Okay. And the last thing I do, and I don't always do this because I'm not out making these things, but the last thing I think is a really helpful way to teach a game, or that really works well with new players, are player aids or turn order cards. And I think more and more games are coming with them, which is great. I know sometimes at first they can be really overwhelming, but I think especially if there's like different phases of a game, or okay, we're going to do this and then this action happens and it triggers this, to see that listed somewhere to remind a person who's new to playing the game can be really helpful. So then they feel like, okay, I don't have to be like the idiot that's like, when do we do this again? Or, I mean, some people don't care and they want to look like an idiot. That doesn't bother them. But some people are like, oh, just keep quiet and just wait till they tell me what to do. It's nice to be able to turn to a player aid or a turn order card and say, oh, okay, this is what has to go next. This is what I need to look forward to. This is what they meant. Because then also seeing that again can trigger some of the rules that were maybe kind of like want at the beginning. You're like, oh, they did say that. Yes, that's right. Okay, that's what they meant. And then it's almost like a rules refresher. Sometimes games don't have these, but amazing, wonderful people like you guys make them. And they're out on BGG often. And so then you could print them out. I know there's some games that Jason and I have played where he has done that. Printed out some player aids and stuff that were on BGG to kind of help us play through it. Or a lot of times there's places like that in the rule book that you just can make available to people so that they're able to see it and have that kind of extra help. So I think that player aids, turn order cards are really helpful to then say, okay, I know they talked about this. What was that again? And to kind of refresh their brain. So that's my last tip.
Oh, yeah, there's no reason the games in 2020 and beyond should not have these in the game. There's no reason. If I'm playing a game that takes more than 45 minutes, it needs to have a player aid card. I don't care what it is. If I'm just rolling a die and putting a die somewhere, I need to have a player aid card.
I don't know about that.
No, I'm serious. Like, I need to say, on my turn, what can I do? It should be in front of me at all the time. Maybe not, like, I don't feel like I need it, but it should be there for someone to have if they want it in every single game. Like, those things are amazing, and to not put those in a game is crazy. Like, Tribune should have had some of those.
It did.
It would have been... No, it didn't. Oh, well, it's on the player board, I guess.
No, I had a little thing that said, here's the overview of the win conditions. And then the player board itself then showed all the bonuses that you got. No, it totally...
I guess that's true. You're right.
Yeah, see?
Bad example.
You're right. That is a bad example. You're wrong.
All right, I'll just move on to my third one after I felt
Why don't you give your last thing?
All right, so my last thing, which really should have been thing number 2, because this is what I would have done after I watched the video, and that is I would set up the game while reading the rule book. And that sounds obvious, I guess, but it's just something that if I'm setting up the game and if I learn how to set it up, one, that saves me time when I'm actually trying to set it up later when people are over. If I take 10 less minutes setting up a game because I've already done that, that's 10 more minutes we can have playing the game or getting ready to play something else. And two, if I'm reading through the rulebook while setting up, it may answer some questions that I might have later. Like, especially in rulebooks where they don't have pictures of setup, which is super annoying.
Yes.
If it's just a wall of 3 pages of text when you're setting up, it's easy to miss stuff there. So if I'm setting something up ahead of time and I realize, hey, there's a spot here that I don't have anything, I can go back to the rulebook and say, oh, I missed line 73 on page 14 that references setup, and I can fix that and I know what to do next time. So simple thing, but I think it's invaluable because it's going to save time and it's going to make sure that you have the game set up appropriately every single time.
Well, and especially when you mentioned like rule books that don't have pictures, sometimes they'll reference certain like player pieces or certain cards or whatever, and you're like, I don't know which one that is. Like, they'll give them all these names and they've never shown you what that named thing is. So I think that that's another really good reason why it's nice to go through, read the rule book, and set it up so you can make sure you have all the parts identified. So when you explain them, you know what each thing is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what the theme is. I'm just going to say, hey, the red deck here, the green deck here, or, you know, the black piece or the yellow piece. So
right,
I'm still going to kill the theme, but yeah.
Yeah, but later on the rules, it'll say, okay, everyone who does this particular thing gets this kind of token. Well, if you don't know what those tokens are, or you're not sure if it's one or the other thing, you know, it's helpful to have looked through the components along as you're reading the rulebook and doing the setup so that you know what's what.
That is true.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's setting up the game while reading the rulebook is my last one.
So those 6 things kind of together are how Jason and I teach games. A lot of times Jason does all this background work, and then I jump in and do some of this other stuff where I'm like, hey, let's do an open hand, or let me kind of explain to you what the main thing is and make sure that we don't lose focus on that. So what about you guys? Do you teach games a lot, or do you let other people teach you games? If other people teach you games, what's helpful? Or I know we have quite a few solo players among our listeners, and so you're teaching yourself, which is different. What do you do to learn a game for yourself? And then if you turn around and teach that to somebody else, do you use the same methods? I'm so curious. So tell us. Find us on Facebook, post on the Board Game Mechanics, or even better, join our Facebook group, #TheRiveted, where all the cool people, all the pretty okay people are hanging out and talking about games.
Let's not get too carried away. I mean, come on.
I mean, I'm there. And I'm looking for a new favorite.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Katie's Fickle Favorites. Yeah.
So you need to join that group and start chatting with us. Instagram, Twitter, send us a private message, send us an email. Katie at bgmechanics.com. You can email me.
Yep, she has an email now.
Heyo, I'm legit. Also, definitely check out our YouTube page. It might be a way for you to learn a new game. Or just look at me unbox some crap so you can see what games are coming up. So subscribe there. We just love to hear from you guys. The Riveted is really the best group probably out there on social media right now, and we want to spread our love of board games. So tell us how you teach games. Well, that's pretty much all I got for tonight.
Me too. And if you teach me a game, I'm just going to add this as a little bonus flavor. If you teach me a game, just remember, I do know how to play games. I've played lots of games before, so we don't have to teach it like I don't know anything. We'll just leave that in there. We'll leave that in there.
That's another pet peeve. Since we game a lot, we don't need to play the introductory scenario. You can say, okay, this is a drafting game, like such and such game, or here, this is a basic deck builder, so here's your deck, and you're going to draw 4. You know, those kind of things. It's in teaching, we call it scaffolding, which I mentioned before. So if you have prior knowledge, you can use that to lead someone to new knowledge, which in this case of board games, we have old board game knowledge. And if you teach me a game and you sit there and you just blankly read 7 pages of rules, I will punch you in the throat.
I didn't mean to take us back down this rabbit hole. I just wanted to add that in that, know your audience sometime when you're teaching too. That was a little bonus tidbit, I guess. So if I know how to play a game, you don't have to act like I've never played a game in my life. So it'll be helpful.
That's basic all. Anytime you're doing any kind of public speaking, whether it's teaching or a speech or a job interview or anything, knowing your audience is the number one thing. I teach it in writing. Knowing your audience is important. knowing what their prior knowledge is, knowing what their level of education and familiarity is, knowing if they have any other beliefs or things to overcome, if they're colorblind, whatever you have to work with. Knowing your audience, definitely, I would say, is probably the number one instruction tip that I would give you.
I agree with that 100%.
So that's just a little bonus, everybody. All right, we've gone on long enough. I'm hungry. Jason promised me a speedy freeze at the end of this, so I'm going to wrap it up.
Speedway, give us free things. # you need to sponsor our podcast.
Never going to happen.
It's not, but if we keep saying it, maybe it will.
Name
it, claim it.
We don't, stop it. Stop it. I'm going to hit you. We don't want a sponsorship because we're not corporate sellouts, okay? We don't roll like that. We're going to be pretty okay all by ourselves without anybody else telling us what to do.
But what if we were able to get as many bags of pickles and bottles of Mountain Dew Zero that we could get?
You know I love the pickle chips.
Yeah, that'll change your tune, huh, Miss Corporate Sellout?
No, it won't. It won't. I'll buy my own pickles. I'll buy my own
raging
pickles.
Against that machine, huh?
Oh, calm down, Tom Morello, okay? You've derailed. We're done. I'm ending it before you can say something else stupid. Stop.
All right.
I've been Katie.
And I'm Jason.
Keep gaming, everybody.
Keep gaming. Rage Against the Machine.
You're embarrassing me. Here he is.
I want to make this the outtake because it'll be funny, just so people can hear it.
See? He's playing classic rock. I told you it's not always country. Gosh, we live in a neighborhood of degenerates.
We sound like those cranky old people who, like, when the kid steps on their lawn,
Get
they
off
go
my
out there and, like, yell at
lawn!
him.
I don't care. I'll chase him with my cane. Ridiculous.